Well, hello everybody. Here we are again for another great Remnant Revealed. Hello, Rick.
Hello. Still on site.
How we doing? Still on site. We are.
A lot of people like when we do these on site.
Yeah, we had a wardrobe change. We look different.
You do.
Yeah,
I don't.
I switched. You still have the same clothes on you had last year this time.
This
is really bad. This is rough.
That's right.
Hey, we're looking sharp, and we have one of course, you introduced him to me many years ago, but he's been your friend and just a blessing to your life and me as well, but just not as long as you. Our great friend John Kautzman, and we're so very thrilled to have you on the program with us today.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here.
Just tremendous brother and not enough words to say, are there?
Well, let me do this. We're on site here in Indianapolis. We're at the International Conference of Police Chaplains Training Seminar for Region 4, Midwestern states. So we have folks in the audience here that are from Wisconsin, Illinois. I know I talked to some of you, Ohio, and
West Virginia. Well, there's nobody here from West Virginia, but it is one of our states.
Several of the other states,
yep.
And Indiana.
Yep, Wisconsin, Michigan.
Now, what many of you may not know is this is John Kautzman. He's not just a great friend of mine, but he's also a very strong professional colleague of mine. You as police chaplains, but also folks watching this podcast, especially in law enforcement and family members of law enforcement, you'll appreciate this fact is it's one thing to walk alongside our officers from that faith perspective, especially through critical incidents that they may experience on the job. But John is one of the leading, I would say probably the best trial attorney, defense attorneys for our police officers here in not just Indianapolis, but all throughout the state of Indiana, but really is one of the top, most respected trial litigators in the nation for walking alongside our officers following critical incidents, in-custody deaths, tragic events that occur, but also in this day and age what we have seen are these crazy prosecutors and DAs that inject politics into the situation and try to make a name for themselves
big time
off of criminally charging officers and bringing forth really bogus charges that we then have to step through and fight through to get resolved without really trying to prevent even further damage to our officers.
Yeah. There's so many challenges, as we all know, presenting police all the way from keeping themselves safe, critical incident, keeping law and order, trying to deal with terrible crime issues. But then they have this entire parallel legal set of jeopardy that goes along with it, whether it be prosecutors that either legitimately or sometimes not legitimately find themselves that it's easier to take a case to a grand jury and just kind of give the grand jury half of the story, if you would, and then they end up getting an indictment on a case that any objective person would look at and say, there's no crime here. What is this person getting indicted for? So we got to walk through those issues. Then if they get indicted, we got to walk through all the issues with regard to preparing for trial. So it's a real challenge on these officers.
And would you say, how long have you been doing this now? How many years?
This starts my 40th year as a lawyer.
No
Wow.
kidding.
And I joined the Ruckelshaus firm. It's the only job I've ever had. 1985 is when I joined. Jack Ruckelshaus was the national attorney for the FOP Grand Lodge national attorney and kind of took me under his wing early on. And I've been kind of the guy ever since.
You've never looked back, have you?
Never looked back, and couldn't have asked for a better career, set of friends, and truly a calling, because I feel like the defense team walks that calling with the officers.
Yes, you do.
And
you first place.
That's right. And you share in this thing that even police chaplains have, which are these levels of confidentiality with our officers, but also the confidence that our officers have to have in you to be able to walk alongside them. What's that like for you when an officer really invests but places their trust in you and really their future, maybe their livelihoods, their freedom into your hands?
It's all in one, a tremendous responsibility, a ton of pressure, a lot of gratitude, and a feeling of doing what's right. I mean, stepping up and saying, you're not going anywhere bad on my watch.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to be there for you.
Yeah.
And you know, chaplains, we're here at the ICPC, or the International Conference of Police Chaplains, and anytime there's an event in an officer's life, whether positive or negative, we are there in a lot of those times.
For sure.
In times to rejoice, the Bible says to weep with those who weep, but to also rejoice with those that rejoice. So a lot of times chaplains are there doing that, and sometimes what you're having to walk with an officer through is not the joyful occasion.
Yeah. I was really, I love to meet the chaplains, not only the ones around the country, but the ones that we have here in Indianapolis, because they're such a critical piece of letting the officer know, the defense lawyer know, really everybody on the scene, that we're here for one reason, that's to support you, to love you, to be here for her and for you, and do anything we can to make your job easier. It's tremendous what the chaplains do.
That's awesome.
So when you're doing that as the attorney and you have that monumental case with the officer, I have to expect that it's much like these other roles where even when the case is done, your relationship with that officer, that family even, doesn't stop there, does it?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I can't tell you the number of times that I've literally been brought to tears, and the older I get, the easier it is to bring me to tears. But I will get notes and emails from officers, their families, after we've won a particularly difficult trial or whatever like that, where they say, you literally saved our life. You and your team
Wow.
did so much to save us in a time of peril where we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if we were going to keep our house. We didn't know if my husband was going to prison. There are so many gratitude moments, and that's probably my overriding thought, is gratitude abounds in the profession. It really does. Whether it be that you are thankful that you go home to your loved one, thankful that you're out there doing God's work on the street to keep people safe, and you are thankful to those around you that have brought you to the point where you and your family can move on with their lives.
Yeah, it's really remarkable, and I think about that, and even folks here in the audience, you get the opportunity to walk alongside these officers, but I don't think we often think about roles like yours, where you're not just walking alongside them, but you're defending them, you're telling their story, and you're making sure that other people that are going to decide their fate, whether it be a judge, a jury, whatever the case may be, that they're getting all of the facts. One of the things we always talk about is facts matter, right?
Right.
And in this day and age, it seems like less and less our facts interject. We always say, don't bother interjecting logic into the discussion here, because it seems that it doesn't have any place anymore.
Yeah.
What have you seen over the last several years in your time of doing this? This is my opinion, I guess, is the degradation, it seems, of the legal process, especially as it's directed toward our enforcers of the law.
Well, as I was saying before, the degradation of the process has become something that he's evolved over time. You can go to Rodney King, to George Floyd, on forward. Certain politically based prosecutors, DOJ, especially in other administrations, got to the point where they found it politically expedient to make sure that we were not siding with the truth and justice of what police do. We were siding with the fact that police should be criticized first and foremost, and they should be scrutinized on their actions. And couldn't you have just done something else to resolve the problem?
Sure.
There are so many challenges like that where you're right, Rick. We spend all the time talking about facts matter. You need to understand the context. You need to understand threat perception. You need to understand Graham versus Connor and so many legal principles to be able to make sure that you as the lawyer translate to the judge or the jury exactly what the officer's thought process was at that moment so that their actions can be appropriately judged.
You know, Jesus' own words were that you will know the truth, and the truth, and actually in the Greek, is the truth you know will make you free, will set you free. So the truth is extremely important. When we say the facts matter, the facts, the truth of the matter is truth matters.
Sure does.
And having somebody like yourself who goes after the truth and makes sure that the truth is revealed when we know sometimes others are doing their best to hide the truth is extremely important.
Well, that's really a big part of the problem, Chris, because it's almost like everyone wants to tell half of the story, especially in the grand jury process and even in the trial process. But I mean, we're also talking about disciplinary cases and other kinds of cases where it's very difficult sometimes to get a given board or tribunal or jury or whatever to sit there and peel things back and say, wait a minute, I'm going to be a little more objective about this. I'm going to try to see both sides of the story here.
Sure.
And it's my job to kind of lay those things out while I'm walking along. Now, you know, I see spirituality throughout what officers do, but it's hard for the defense lawyer to articulate it. I see it, and I can see the brotherhood and the sisterhood and the camaraderie of what's out there, and how appreciative they are about what we do and how we try to put their best foot forward. But sometimes it's easier to see than it is to explain.
We won't talk about any specific cases or things like that, but have you ever found a time in your life and in your career where, and as smart and intelligent as you are, and as well-versed and well-taught and very knowledgeable, where you came to a place where you said, I'm good at what I do, but this is like extremely far above my skill and my ability to help in this situation?
Sure. I mean, there are certain cases that have to be tried, and you just have to put on the bootstraps and the gunslinger mentality and go knock it out. There are other cases where it is a service to the client, and especially their family, to have a hard discussion with them about maybe there's a better way out of this. Maybe there's an exit strategy. It may not even mean that you're staying in law enforcement, or it may mean that you're going to take X amount of discipline, or you're going to do this, but we're going to come out this better on the other side than we are right now. So those cases present themselves. But there's the other, as Rick knows, unbelievably controversial police action shootings that are in the media, take on a life of their own. Courtrooms are filled with angry family members and so forth and so on. And on those cases, you have to accept the pressure, lay out all the facts, and trust that the system is going to work the way it's supposed to if we're doing our job.
Have you ever found yourself in a place where you knew and were thankful that you had a relationship with God where you could pray about a case or a circumstance before you went into that courtroom?
Absolutely. Every year that goes by, I feel that way.
Every year.
And, you know, there is a tremendous amount, I said, not only of spirituality in policing, but also in believing in your client, believing in how there is this higher power. There is a faith and a belief that officers that are doing the right thing ultimately will be vindicated for their actions.
Yes, sir.
If we just get the facts out, get the truth out, and that they believe. And Rick and I talk so much about the power of prayer and the power of belief and the power of getting to the point where you know that this too shall pass, and we're gonna come through on the other side of this.
Amen.
You know, I hope people really are getting that, and especially people that are in chaplaincy as well. You know, John, again, I mean, you're one of the leading guys in this profession of defending police officers, being a law enforcement attorney. You know, you've been the National Fraternal Order of Police Attorney of the Year. That's no small feat right there.
Yeah,
you think about that. We have over 400,000 members in the FOP and across this nation, and they said, "Hey, you're the best of the best." And I've been able to watch you. It's like a master class in watching John and his team, quite frankly, in litigation, in the way that they step through a trial, a hearing, whatever the case may be. And knowing that, I guess this is the point. You're the best of the best, top in your league. And what I hear you saying, and what I've seen happen several times, is even with a very positive outcome, and as good as you are in the hard work that you do, invariably the point comes back to, but God.
Yes.
That as good as we are on all these things,
That's right.
the thing that made the difference, and I don't think people hear that much. I don't think officers think about that much.
Yep.
And they probably don't expect that to come from a leading attorney,
Yeah.
where logic is the focus.
Yeah.
To say, with even all of the facts,
Yeah.
we still need the power of prayer and
God
faith.
Yeah.
bring it about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it's, we talk all about how important prayer is, and Rick and Chris are so good at when we will be in a trial and we'll go to lunch and we'll be taking a break in the trial and we'll just gather our hands together for a minute to recognize how important God is in the process and how important the power of prayer is. Now, the clients don't want to hear that from their lawyer. They want to know that I'm doing whatever I need to do to get ready for the cross-examination of the big expert that flew in from L.A. So I get that. But that's what I was talking about when I certainly recognize it, and it's tough to articulate and explain, but it's undoubted that it's there and omnipresent and helps lead everyone to a greater good if we use that as the backdrop for good, solid, hard work. And, you know, my team all the time talks about, you know, the combination of talent and hard work. You got to have them both, because one or the other is not going to get you there. And so we couple that, I think, with that bigger picture of it's the right thing to do. It's the belief. It's the faith. It's getting you there.
You know, I think about Jesus at times like this when we have these kind of conversations, because he was falsely accused. He was brought before Pilate. He was everybody around him in that moment despised him, except for those who had been his disciples, and even those people left him as well.
Right.
He was all alone, and he's facing a death sentence. He's facing corporal punishment.
Yeah.
And literally has done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Everything he did right. And he said, everything I did in the light of day. You were there, and you didn't say anything then. Why are you jumping on the bandwagon now?
Yeah.
Now, we know he had to do that in order to pay the price for our lives.
Right.
But nonetheless, he was still there being accused. And a lot of times I think about that for officers, because I've been a part of officers' time where they've been falsely accused, or people have falsely presented their motives for why they did what they did. And I think, Lord, you know, you paid for that too. You paid for the ability for us to have the right to pray, and ask you to empower people like John to find the truth, to make sure and reveal things that are in this circumstance or situation where we get the win, so to speak, or the officer gets the win and doesn't pay a price he really didn't deserve to pay, because then in my heart Jesus paid it.
No doubt about it.
Now we're doing Remnant Revealed, which is our podcast on biblical perspective on policing. So in that, I've just seen the Lord do some great things through that, and that's why it's easy to pray.
Yeah, well, it's so great to have the leadership of not only you guys, but I am heartened every day by not only the warrior spirit in officers doing what they need to do, but also tempering that with the importance of walking in faith and understanding this is all part of a higher calling.
Yes, sir.
And I see it all the time, and it means so much to me to be a part of that journey and a part of that walk.
Well, and I think there's something very powerful when you've got the legal profession, being attorneys and whatnot, that's done all this preparation, all this work, all the getting ready, all the study of legal theory and all those other things, and still yet, before we walk into that courtroom, oftentimes it's you that says, wait a minute. Come over here, chaplain, and lead us in prayer.
Yeah.
I think the powerful message that sends really can't be denied and shouldn't be waved off. And I hope for folks in the audience who are chaplains or folks watching this that are officers or family members, we said it earlier this morning, there's no atheists in foxholes, right?
Right.
When you're down in it and you're looking at
That's right.
a criminal trial, a lawsuit, a federal indictment, whatever the case may be, you're going to be looking to any help that you can find.
Boy, no
and
kidding.
for the person who's carrying out that legal role to say, hey, yes, we have the law on our side, but we also need the giver of life on our side as well, is a powerful
right.
message. What really would you say over your time of doing this? Do you feel like that's grown stronger in you, or do you feel like there was a definitive moment where that occurred, where you were like, hey, we need to have this involved as well, or what would you say?
It's definitely grown stronger over time. It used to just be kind of the being a technician and getting out there and doing what I need to do, but tempering it now much more with that. I've always believed in the calling, but I've never believed in asking for the additional help that needs to be
Right.
the overdrop of what it is we're trying to get done.
That's good.
And I see that so much more.
And that's powerful.
very
That's
good.
powerful
That
for
is
folks
powerful.
to hear. I think we've talked about this before, where you talk about the great legal minds and the issues, and sometimes what seems to be an inherent conflict with,
That's right.
especially your defense attorney. You need them to be on point, and they're the ones that are going to get this done.
Right.
But we have many examples in the Bible of legalese, but also legal scholars
Yes,
who
we
have
do.
that same epiphany as well, right? We got a
right.
guy that went from the name
His name
Saul
was Paul.
to Paul,
Yeah.
who was one of the leading attorneys
That's correct.
of his time, right? And I think that's important for folks to remember and to kind of reflect upon when they're thinking about this faith perspective on what we all collectively do and who it is that we're serving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
Well, I'd like to say thank you very, very much. It's an extreme blessing to have you on the podcast. I know we've wanted to do this for quite some time.
Yep.
And so appreciate you taking the time to swing by our conference here at ICPC and take the time to sit down with us and share some things from your heart.
Hats off to you and all your guests here. Thanks for being here. All I can say is amen for what you do, for what all of you do, and
What would you say to chaplains? Well, as that from that role and that perspective of the attorney, what would you say to chaplains about their role and why they're so needed right now?
because they serve as a reminder that is easy to forget about when the officers in the trenches, doesn't know if he's going home. His wife's losing it, or his husband or her husband is losing it. They got so much pressure on them at that moment in time. The chaplain can say, just, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. You're not walking this journey alone, and we love you, and we're going to be there to support you every step of the way, and we're going to get through this thing. And I think it's just that message, because it's so easy to get tunnel vision for those officers where, we talk about way too much about officer suicides and about watching out for each other. I find myself, and especially my partners, find ourselves trying to be kind of a monitor and a gauge in pointing out to other officers, he seems to be holding on a little too tight.
Yeah.
I'm worried about this guy. Does he have a good enough support network around him, and so forth and so on? And they can be a kind of a transition for us to say, can you work with this guy and get him the right resources, and so forth and so on? So there's so many different roles that the chaplain can play, but the biggest thing is to remind us why we're there, and it's not just the technicalities of what's going on.
That's awesome.
And I think so many times there are attorneys that they even give off that vibe of, hey, I get it, but we don't need that junk over here. Keep that chaplain stuff over there. It's kind of, we're on two different paths here. And what you hear one of the top attorneys in the country saying is, no, we need this team effort.
We really do.
And I just thank you for doing that. I think it shows remarkable leadership and also humility. Defense attorneys especially aren't known for being humble, but that's what you pay them for, is to be out there and fighting the fight, right?
Can you believe that? You can't even believe he just said that.
But
obviously no one's heard Rick when he's truly pontificating.
One
wonders how humble he is.
Yes, this is very true. I will attest to that, sir.
I just think it's important for people to hear, to fully appreciate. And I can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing with all of our folks.
Well, I love you both, and amen to
love you too, sir.
All of you.
Faith now more than ever.
More than ever.
Can I close with one more scripture?
You may.
All right, I think it speaks to this.
Throw it out there.
It's from Galatians 6:8. And I think it speaks to what you've been saying. Instead of just focusing on the physical, also focusing on the spiritual as well. And it says, for he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life.
Yes, sir.
Wow. That's powerful stuff. That's
very
great
powerful
stuff.
Yep, I receive it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for watching today. Thank you to the congregation and the crowd and the folks in the room and the people who are at the tables and the members of ICPC who are here and the people.
It's been awesome.
It has been. I got caught between attorney and preacher and chaplain and guest and all that, and it just came out weird.
Well, thanks for having us here. It's been awesome being on site with all of you. And I want to say to all the chaplains in the room and those that may be watching, thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much.
I don't think we fully appreciate at times the significance of the role that you play. And really everything really hinges on the work and the steadfast commitment that you guys have to our officers and their families.
Yes, it does.
So thank you, and we applaud you.
Yep. I'm having to hold my microphone. Hey, we love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Thank you for watching Remnant Revealed. We look forward to seeing you really soon. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Rick and I trust that you heard something that will help your life. And if you believe that it would help others, please make sure and share. Like and subscribe and hit that bell so that you can be notified when the next podcast is available. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.